Hello and welcome to the Wonderful World of Innova, alive and composing, and this week's guest is... Please state your name for the record, Erdem.
Erdem Helvacioglu.
That's why I asked you. And where are you coming to us from right now?
From Istanbul, Turkey.
Okay, but so this connection doesn't go all the way to Turkey, it stops at...
Yeah, I stopped at California on this tour. Now I'm in New York.
Okay, so you're here as our Innova Globetrotter of the week, and we'll get round to that after some inane questions to warm up with. And you travel a lot, and you survived this long in your life. What's your favourite food? What do you like to make the most? What's the most delicious dish you've ever tasted?
Wow, that's that's a hard question. I should think about that. Maybe some Chinese food, I can say, but I don't have anything in particular right now.
Okay, so you're like an omnivore. You just like anything that does the job.
Yeah, I'm open to everything actually.
Okay, so right there we're in with the musical metaphor because you're open to a lot of musical things too, right?
Yeah, musically I'm open to everything, so...
Even a little Chinese, perhaps?
Yes.
And you work hard. How do you spoil yourself when you really need to get away from the laptop or the inside of a piano?
I try to go to clubs and bars and, sometimes go to some indie rock shows and that kind of stuff, and a lot of traveling, and sometimes I give a break during those traveling, touring, go to some museums and stuff.
Good. And if you weren't making music as a career, what might you be doing?
Actually, my undergraduate is on industrial engineering. So after that, either I was gonna go on that route, or or become a musician composer. If I weren't a sound engineer composer, I would definitely be a industrial engineer, I guess.
And does it help to be an industrial engineer in your kind of composition? Are there certain skills that you have that nobody else has?
Actually, it helps. And being an engineer, having those courses during the undergraduate actually helps when I think about it, because you get a different perspective. If I were only, let's say, trained as a musician, like a classical musician, all throughout the years, starting from when I was let's say 6 years old, I would have a different perspective on music. I think being an engineer and also being a musician, it makes you a lot more open for possibilities, all technical and musical, all possibilities.
Growing up, did you stay in Istanbul, and was all of your training there in music and all of your exposure to music from that area?
No, I was born in Bursa, which is a city really close to Istanbul, 3-hour drive, and another big city. But when I was around 11 years old, then we moved to Istanbul. Then from there on, I stayed there. And my initial musical education was on guitar, actually. First classical, acoustic, then electric guitar, and playing in bands. Mostly started as a rock and roll guitar player. Then I switched to contemporary music and electronic and electroacoustic music, during the university years, and then go on from then on.
Tell me about that leap from the rock bands into the work that you do now. Was there one piece of music, or did you meet someone, or was there an idea that suddenly came into your head that there was another way?
Actually, it's kind of a slow process. Because from the first moment, I started playing the guitar, I was always interested in trying to create interesting timbres. I didn't have the equipment then, but maybe with some cheap analog pedals or retuning the guitars like Jimmy Page kind of stuff. And then when I was around 15, 16 years old, and I nearly became a virtuoso on the electric guitar. I could play all the Malmsteen kind of stuff and Joe Satriani kind of solos. But after a few years, I got a little bored with that. And then during the university years, it was the times of bands like the peak of trip hop You know, lots of bands from Bristol, artists like Tricky, Björk were really, you know, famous during that time. And I became interested in how they produced these records, how they produced these sounds, you know. And then that interest grew on, and I brought my first hardware sampler, then hardware synthesizer. Then from then on, you know, it was a wild adventure, let's say.
And were you part of a community at this time? I mean, do you stand out in your field? Did you then, and I know you do now? Are there lots of Erdems running around, or lots of wannabe Erdems?
There are some electroacoustic composers. Like, I mean, the scene in Turkey, especially in Istanbul, has changed a lot, especially in the last 10 years. Like, until the year 2000, there wasn't any university, any course on sound engineering. So it wasn't like, you know, New York or Berlin or Paris. But then during that time, which I got my master's degree on, there was a new school called Istanbul Technical University, under the Technical University. It's called MIAM, Advanced Studies for Music. And then we had this really great studio, great professors coming from all the way from the States, and we had great education there. And all my friends who were playing in bands and who had this rock and roll education, let's say, but who wanted to become more composer and electronic music composers, were all in that institution. So it really literally changed our lives, and I think it continues to change a lot of lives with the new generation of composers. So there's a lot of people interested, but still there are not many opportunities to release your own records or to have lots of concerts. That's the only problem now.
And if you had like 3 desert island discs or favorite MP3 tracks to travel with, or if you just go back to the music that is in your blood, are there some pieces that really changed your life or are particularly meaningful for you?
Let me see. Like Stephen Scott from Stephen Scott Boat Ensemble. I really like some of his albums. Let me think. Some Brian Eno albums. I don't have not anything in particular right now. What else? As I said, during that time, I like the first Tricky album. It really changed, you know, perspective for how to use samples. And I mean, there are a lot of in different genres, but it's really hard to, you know, think about at the moment.
Mm-hmm. What's your greatest fear?
What's my greatest fear? Technical problems on stage.
Good. Well, we seem to be doing so far okay right now. So we'll go back to what's your first
laptop crashes on stage.
What's your first sound memory?
What's my first sound memory? Actually, traditional Turkish music on TV. Actually, like around 3-4 years old, I can literally hear those sounds in my ear.
Is that a certain timbre of particular instruments, or a certain energy behind it? Tunings?
Mostly timbral. Yeah, I still really love the timbre of the oud and kanun, and I think those sounds are like in my subconscious, definitely.
Do you think an outsider would see any similarity between your personality traits and your music? How are you like your music?
How would I describe my music? Or?
No, how are you like your music? Your personality, we can see you scratching your head here, we can see what shirt you put on this morning. We can see how you talk.
I mean, the things that can be seen is the diversity, I guess. I mean, through all my records. Since, as I said during the beginning of the conversation, like I'm really open to a lot of different genres, and my personality is like that. I'm really open to a lot of new ideas, so I don't get stuck. I don't want to get stuck in a specific genre, in a specific idea. I think that would mean something.
You also seem to be very prolific, and it's hard to keep up with all the wonderful things that you put out in your life. Do you ever get sleep?
Yeah, I try to get some sleep. I mean, the thing is, I work like at least 12 hours each day, and I need to be creative to feel alive, if you know what I mean. So that's the way how it goes.
Tell us about 11 Short Stories.
11 Short Stories is an album based on prepared grand piano, and it has 11 pieces based on the idea of 11 movie directors, international movie directors that I like very much. And I mean, I've done lots of different prepared piano album recordings and pieces during the time. The difference is that for this record, what I wanted to achieve is each piece would have its own completely different preparation on its own. So each piece would have its own sonic universe in a way. And some pieces are multi-tracked, and some pieces are completely solo works. And the other thing that I try to achieve is that each piece would have its own sonic universe, and also each note and each key would have its own universe, in the meaning that some keys would have maybe a guitar pick, or some piece would have some metal plates on top of that, or some strings would have a completely different gadget on top of the strings. So each string would have its own sonic universe also. So
it strikes me that this is not something that could be performed live on stage, because it's already got part of your engineering built into the multi-tracking, for instance. And also, not everyone wants their grand pianos to be tampered with.
Yeah, it's in that sense it's not as easy, you know, to perform. But for performing wise, the combination will be the recording on the album, and I'm gonna perform more on top of that. So it's gonna be acting as a backing track also in a way. So I'm gonna try to come up with more different ideas on top of that also. So the concert will have a different meaning too.
Would you ever show actual film or video along with the soundtracks? Either ones that you've already seen or generate new ones? Or do you think it's better left to the imagination?
That I haven't decided yet. Maybe just very, very minimal. You know, sometimes I have some issues with video projection during the concerts. No, either it has to be really maximal or really, really minimal. I think I might go to the very minimal approach if I'm gonna use video at all.
Alright, well, for the moment we'll use our imaginations, and those of us who've seen the work of some of those directors will have some suggestions for our brain cells. And best of luck with the CD and with your current and future travels.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye for now.
Bye.